Just how crazy are the climate change loons? You know that I like talking about how nuts they are because they are. They rallied around a 16-year-old girl as a spokesperson for an issue of tremendous scientific and economic and financial importance on a global scale. Let's take what the 16-year-old says seriously, because serious adults would listen to a 16-year-old about those issues. They don't seem to care how silly, how foolish they look, and that is extending now even to things that I had thought were, I guess, somewhat sacred still in America. You had activists, and I don't watch college football, which I know, and those of you who love it, God bless, and I'm glad you enjoy it so much. I went to a school with 1,600 people, and who cares about the football team at a school with 1,600 people? It's just you can't. So I had no collegiate excitement about sports of any kind, really, but particularly about. I like to play them. I just didn't really like to watch other people play them. And then the Harvard-Yale game. Harvard and Yale game. Oh, hello, Harvard-Yale. It's so fun. We all travel to the game, and the servants bring little umbrellas to hold over us. Oh, I guess it's cold, so probably. The servants bring little heaters, little hot water bottles for us. Make sure that our martinis are just so. I'm just kidding. I mean, a Harvard-Yale game, I'm sure people have a lot of fun. But they didn't have that much fun there was at least a period where they weren't able to have as much fun because there was an hour delay. I would have been very unhappy with this. An hour delay when Yale and Harvard, or when students from these schools rushed the field at the end of halftime and sat in the center of the field. This is the super fancy Ivy League school equivalent of lying down in traffic to prevent more cars from getting by. I mean, this is pay attention to us or else. Here's the audio as it was happening. Play clip 2, please.
The game currently going on in New Haven, Connecticut, is in a delay over on ESPNU. There are protesters on the field attempting to bring more attention to climate change. Lots of protesters on the field inside the Yale Bowl.
Protesters on the field trying to bring attention to climate change. Now, it's pretty cold out there, and people want to watch their football. An hour-long delay. That's a long delay. I mean, how long is a football halftime usually? Just like 15 minutes, right?
Yes.
Right. So this was an hour. I would be very upset at these people. Producer Mark, what would you do if somebody went out there and slipped out onto the ice in the middle of a very important hockey game?
Well, that would probably never happen, but I'd be very angry.
You'd be very angry. Well, I guess because also there's like the plexiglass. It'd be a little harder.
Yeah, you would have to jump over it or get past security and open the gate. It'd be a whole thing.
Those protesters out because their behinds are going to get pretty cold sitting down on that ice.
Yeah, and they probably slip immediately. They're not smart enough to have the spiky shoes on.
That's true. It wouldn't work that well. Football, unfortunately, far too easy to do this, and that is what happened. And if you were wondering, what is it? What is it exactly that these students want? They wrote a letter to let us know, or I'm sorry, an editorial, probably a letter too, but an editorial in The Guardian. We have a couple of students here from, I think, Harvard and Yale or whatever. By the way, these are not serious. Just so you understand, these are not serious institutions of higher learning anymore. They're finishing school for elite libs, and there's 100 different ways that people get in that have nothing to do with being smart. So you just forget about our whole conception of all these schools are producing the best and the brightest in the future. It's really just all now a new iteration of the social club. It's, can you get into the club? Can you leverage this for yourself? These students go there for 4 years. They don't learn squat. They really don't. Like, I went to a reasonably fancy school myself. I didn't learn very much of anything that I didn't try to teach myself. You can show up to these classes, big lecture hall, everyone just talking about diversity and inclusion all the time. That's all anyone cares about. And socializing and getting too drunk and excess fornication. Here's what this editorial in The Guardian says. Why we risked arrest, oh my gosh, to protest Harvard and Yale funding fossil fuel giants. So this is the 136th Harvard-Yale football game. Here's what they say about this. It was not an accident. It was a strategic choice. These students said, by leveraging our privilege as students of two of the world's richest universities, we called attention to our universities and all of our institutions' complicity in degrading our planet and our futures through their continued investment in the fossil fuel industry. In a climate emergency, we cannot afford to kick back, watch the game, and ignore reality. Our movement, the Youth Movement for Climate Action and Justice, cannot win if we play by the rules. As we fight to divest, we fight to radically transform an unsustainable and unethical status quo. Climate change is not a distant reality for us. It is imminent and deeply personal. Within both Fossil Fuel Divest Harvard and Yale's Endowment Justice Coalition, students come from the smoke-filled skies of California, the vanishing shores of American Samoa, and the hurricane-hit lands of Puerto Rico. Our universities are not immune to narratives of climate disaster and injustice. My friends, these people are nuts. First of all, there is no correlation whatsoever, and no serious person who looks at the data argues otherwise between serious storms and climate change. It just doesn't. It's not real. It doesn't exist. It's not there. They can keep pretending it is, but you're seeing this is where belief overtakes reason. That's what climate change has become. This is a religious belief. It really is. I could sit there and I could try to convince somebody, for example, that they should look at the data too, and they would never get beyond, I'm a bad person who doesn't care about the planet. Neither of those things are true, but they've been conditioned to jump right to that, so nothing else that I say matters. Because I don't care about the planet, only the climate change. I want to destroy the planet for the fossil fuel industry. I mean, these people are morons. It makes no sense. I don't care about only they care about future generations. I don't care about future generations because I'm paid off by who? Sounds great. Somebody should pay me off. Who's paying me off? No, I just think that people should be able to watch a football game without a bunch of complete imbeciles sitting in the middle of the field and making everyone cold and bored. Well, what is this going to do? But they want control of the very large multi-billion-dollar endowments that these two universities both have. Here they get into some specifics about what's supposed to be done. So they want to hijack decision-making about the endowments of these schools, these students. You have to do what we say with your money. But these kids are all lucky to be there. Any one of these kids could be replaced by 100 other kids in a day. And they're running around making demands. But the schools get afraid of them. The schools get scared of the little social justice maniacs. Quote, it's not only through their investments that these elite institutions prop up the bad actors behind our planet's degradation. Whoa. Harvard continues to refuse to publicly recognize the vast and problematic ties that the Harvard Corporation maintains to the fossil fuel industry, including that one of its members, Ted Wells, is a top lawyer defending ExxonMobil against charges of misleading investors about the risks of climate change. Well, they're picking on this guy. Even as Harvard has moved to investigate gifts made by sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, it has taken no action regarding the large gifts it gets from oil companies to fund much of its environmental programming and research. That's right, folks. These kids are saying, well, if you're going to not take money from a sex trafficking pedophile, then clearly you shouldn't take money from the largest corporations in the world that are doing incredibly important things for our day-to-day lives. My friends, millions and millions of people would die if we stopped using fossil fuels tomorrow. If we just said no more fossil fuels, the world is at risk. Millions of people would die. You would not have food production at levels to sustain the current global population. You would not have food transport. You would not have food refrigeration. You would not have 50% of fossil fuel in this country that is used in the processes of making things. It's not just what goes into cars. People think, oh, we're all just going to drive around in Teslas and ride bicycles. People don't know anything. Half of the stuff that the fossil fuel industry is putting out there, or rather half of the usage of fossil fuels, is so that you can carry a supercomputer in your hand and go to a doctor's office that has all kinds of fancy computers to look at you and scan you and make sure you're healthy and fine. Then you go to a supermarket that is so bountiful, has so much food from all over the world, that your biggest problem is limiting how much food you eat. That's true for most of us now in this country. We have diseases of excess. Our problems are of food excess. This is because of the advanced modern economy that we have. We only have it because of fossil fuels. We are naturally decarbonizing. There is less and less CO2 from the technologies that are coming online. But to try to great leap forward this, and I'm using that intentionally, to try to 5-year plan the natural process of decarbonization in our fuel is so wildly, catastrophically stupid. But these kids, these universities have created little monsters. They're 18. They don't know anything. I was a very wise 18-year-old. I didn't know anything. These kids are running over, I think they're sophomores. Maybe they're 19. Sorry, the ones writing this editorial. Making demands about where the university is going to invest its money and, naming and shaming people because they're lawyers who, I guess they don't understand how the legal system works in this country, that you can't be a lawyer that's defending a client, a corporate client. Now that means that you should be kicked out of polite society. I think one of the issues here is even if you could get people to get beyond the religious fervor that they have around climate change, they can't ever back away from this because they would have to feel really stupid. They would have to feel like they've been swindled. They've been fooled. Because they have. They have been fooled. They've been sold this bill of goods. They've been completely fraudulently brought into this idea that the world is going to end, and they've taken action on it. And they will even stop a football game from happening for an hour to drive. Do they think that they're winning any hearts and minds with this campaign? They're really going to force people? They're going to try to use force. They're going to bend them to their will so they won't so they will divest from the fossil fuel. To divest from the fossil fuel industry, I wish I could sit down and speak to these little imbeciles. To divest from the fossil fuel industry would mean divesting from every major corporation, every major company, actually, scratch that, pretty much every company in the world. They wouldn't have lights. They wouldn't have electricity. They wouldn't be able to get deliveries. They wouldn't be able to have the workforce show up. How do you divest from the fossil fuel industry? Our entire economy runs on power, on energy. Without it, we're just human beings trying to do things with our hands and simple tools. That's not how the world works anymore. The lights that we have, the climate control inside our offices, all these things are only possible because of fossil fuel. You're going to divest in the fossil fuel industry? This is like saying you better divest from using money, or else, we're going to just keep shutting things down. Only barter is allowed because money is the source of all evil. You can only trade things now. If you want bacon, you better show up with a pig, or rather show up with, pineapples that you're going to trade for the pig. You're not allowed to use money anymore. That's how stupid this is. Divesting from fossil fuels? Because if you're divesting from fossil fuel because you're opposed to fossil fuels, then you should also divest from the companies that rely on it and then use it all the time, which you could never do. So why are you trying to punish those companies? Why are you trying to lower investment in them when they're already doing what they say they want them to do, which is establish new technologies? Most of the advancement, trust me, if ExxonMobil found a way to start using sunlight to generate all of our power, they would do it. But it's not there yet. It's not there yet. This is the tyranny of stupid brats. Maybe we'd call the show that today. The tyranny of stupid brats. That's what's going on. What do you think? I kind of like it. That's what's going on at Harvard and Yale. Listen to us or else. We'll ruin your foot. I'm sure people traveled out there, probably, with family members from afar. It's a big deal to people from the Harvard Yale community. I know we can all sit around and make fun of them, and it's mostly because a lot of us didn't get into Harvard or Yale, so we got a little spite toward those schools. But at the end of the day, they've done nothing to advance their cause, and they've just really shown us how really vain and self-important these climate activists are. They don't care about your day. They don't care what needs you have. They're going to get their way, or they're going to ruin your day. They're going to ruin your afternoon. That's how certain they are of their cause. They don't know anything about science. They have no background in this. They don't understand the economy. And they certainly don't show any gratitude to the system we have that allows them to live stream on the supercomputers they have in their hands the nonsense virtue signaling they engage in the middle of this football stadium. They seem to have no problem with any of that being only possible because of fossil fuels. They don't get that. They don't understand that. There's a lot of things they don't understand. Maybe they should try teaching kids real stuff at Harvard and Yale now. Maybe they should. They should. At a lot of these schools, they should have radical curriculum redos, because it all just is a game to see who can get good grades and then who can get a certain kind of job. It's not about learning. It's not about expanding mind. It's not about the life of the mind or intellectual exchange and searching for the. Certainly not about searching for the truth. Universities have just become little indoctrination factories for left-wing automatons, and then they stamp this degree on them and I must be so smart, I went to Harvard. I know idiots aplenty who graduated from, name a school that's fancy, and I can think of people I know went there who didn't get in because they're so smart and aren't so smart because they went there. The climate change kids, guarantee you, not very smart. I hope you're enjoying listening to the Buck Sexton shows. We have our podcast up every day at about 3 o'clock Eastern. You can listen on iTunes. Please subscribe. And also, if you wouldn't mind, folks, give us a review. It's nice to see the review numbers there, 5 stars. And if you want to write a review, that would be a real big help, because people look in the iTunes store for new podcasts, and we want to grow the team as much as we can. You can also watch us on The First on Pluto TV, channel 248. So download the Pluto TV app. It is called The First. That's the name of the channel. Pluto TV is an app you can download in the App Store. You can hang out with us, watch us in the Freedom Hut, while you're cooking dinner or, hanging out at home, doing whatever you're doing. You can just throw on The First. It's me, my man Jesse Kelly, and we're gonna have some other people joining in on this in the new year. So check it out. Again, subscribe on iTunes, and please tell somebody you know to check out the show.
Team Buck, it's time for roll call.
I am going to get to roll call, team, because I know that's your time, and I don't want to take time from the team. But I did have to note that there was over the weekend there was a tweet that went kind of viral about bad food takes. What was interesting was, first of all, controversial food takes. What I mean to say, controversial food takes. And the most interesting one was that there was a never Trumper, a former conservative who now will vote for Democrats, who said that he thought that Indian food was garbage, and he's a white guy, and he got just pummeled by the social justice left for that. It's racist to say you don't like Indian food if you're a white guy. I'd never. That's a new one. I didn't know that. Now we're at food taste is a function of social justice as well. But I want to know, Producer Mark, do you have a controversy? Well, first of all, you look like you want to say something just about that.
I mean, I don't like mayonnaise. Does that mean I'm racist? I don't know.
No, because that doesn't belong to any.
I don't know.
Actually, I think mayonnaise, it's kind of
probably
like a North American,
I just named the food I don't like. Like,
food.
just ridiculous.
What is your most controversial food?
Oh, I hate peanut butter. Like, despise it. Wow. I think it's the worst thing in the world.
That is
even the smell of peanut butter will make me want to vomit.
That's a surprise.
Yeah.
All right. I actually prefer almond butter, which I know is a little frou-frou of me.
Yeah.
But,
a little bougie.
I'm not that. The problem with peanut butter is that it's good, and then if you eat 3 spoonfuls of it, then you have to realize you basically had like all your calories for the day.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to get fat, you just sit there and eat peanut butter. You'll be good to go.
I like cookie butter. From Trader Joe's, a little cookie butter.
What's that?
Delicious.
Cookie butter?
Yeah.
Is it butter made from cookies?
Yeah, basically.
That
I don't know what it technically is, but it's delicious.
That sounds kind of fantastic.
Yeah.
Producer Brandon, do you have a controversial food take you want to share with us?
I think the only thing is that I have a palate of a 10-year-old. So, when you talk about meats, I just like my hamburger with ketchup, and that's it. Maybe cheese.
You're one of those, huh?
Yeah, I eat like I'm in kindergarten or something.
I know other people like that. They only eat burgers with like nothing and ice cream, and they don't like, there's no veggies they like, and
Yeah, or I like pickles on the side, but if it's on my hamburger, I want to throw up.
oh wow, okay.
It's weird.
Yeah, well, that's not good. Let's not have that happen. Yeah, I would just say my controversial food. Well, people listen to the show know that I hate sun-dried tomatoes. I think they ruin everything. I think they should be banned. The same way that Bloomberg wants to ban big drinks with too much sugar in them, we should just ban sun-dried tomatoes.
That's just such a random thing.
Just ban them. Just
But like of
unleash
all the
status-
foods in the world, you specifically dislike sun-dried tomatoes.
Yeah.
Regular tomatoes
Well,
are fine.
also, I think that sweetbreads only exist because they're called sweetbreads and people are too embarrassed because they order them not knowing what they are, and then no one ever says to the chef, "Don't ever have this crap on the menu again."
What do you mean by sweetbreads?
Sweetbreads are it's animal organ meat, basically.
Oh,
organ
that's
innards. You've never had
disgusting.
yeah, you go to a fancy restaurant, they'll have sweetbread sometimes on there.
I thought you meant sweet bread.
No.
Yeah.
Sweetbreads is it's like intestines or
Oh, that-
some kind of
why
organ meat, I
eat
forget.
that?
Liver or
Gross.
something. I don't know. Also, all that like liver is gross too. But no one really.
My
believes it.
grandmother loved tongue.
Some people eat that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squab. It's like a little pigeon. That's gross, by the way. It does not taste good. So yeah, I'm just saying of the food takes. I think the only one that I would have that's controversial. I don't think peanut butter. I mean, I'm actually kind of with you. I don't think peanut butter and jelly is that good. I don't know why people think it's such a great sandwich. I think there's way better combinations than peanut butter and jelly.
I can't comment because I hate peanut butter.
If you offer me a grilled cheese or peanut butter and jelly,
Oh, grilled cheese every day,
grilled
yeah.
cheese is a far superior sandwich.
100%.
Yeah, there's no question about this. So I just feel like that's one. Oh, I guess maybe because I can't eat gluten, but I've gotten used to this. I think that most hamburgers are ruined by their buns. I think bad hamburger bun is way more common than people realize. You can even have a pretty good hamburger, and if you have a bad bun, especially if it's really big and doughy and chewy, then your hamburger is in bad shape.
You're right. A good bun makes a better burger.
Yeah, no, you want a good.
You know
bun.
what I learned
The bun
recently?
has to be appropriate size.
Yes, I agree. I learned recently about pizza. Sesame seeds on a pizza crust makes it 10 times better.
Really?
I don't sound like a New Yorker when I say that,
Yeah,
but
I've
a
never
place
even-
by
I've
my
never-
house
I've actually never heard of that.
does that,
I mean,
and
people
it's
get
amazing.
into the
Yeah.
whole ham and pineapple on their pizza thing.
If you put pineapple on your pizza, you are un-American.
See, direct all of your angry emails to producer. Mark
Ham,
on
I can
that.
see, fine, whatever.
Ham is
But
like prosciutto, it's the
pineapple,
same thing.
pineapple's, come on. I like some specialty slices, but pineapple, come on.
I went to college, and the most famous restaurant in the whole town of our college was called Antonio's Pizzeria, and that place had a line of 100 people every Friday and Saturday night until like 2:00 in the morning, and they had all kinds of they had like fettuccine Alfredo pizza slices, blue cheese buffalo pizza slices. It was amazing. This is when I used to be able to eat
Yeah.
gluten too, so I got real fat.
That's normal.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nowadays, specialty slices are the bomb.
specialty slices were. This
They
place-
brought here. I've had mac and cheese pizza the
they
other
had
day.
They had New England. I'm getting really hungry, by the way.
Yeah, oh, I'm
they
starving.
had New England clam chowder slice.
Oh.
Yeah, they really got.
I had a
into it.
spinach and artichoke dip pizza recently
That sounds
with
amazing.
garlic nuts as the crust.
We are all getting very
Yes.
very hungry in here now. If any of you ever want really good gluten-free pizza in New York, Keste. is the
Nobody
best.
wants that.
It's really good. Don't listen to him. He's being surly Mark today. Surly Mark's got how many days of freedom left, by the way?
5 more days, Buck.
5 more days, a single Mark over here before he walks down the aisle and he becomes an honest man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No.
that's how it's going to go.
I'm basically checked out, so it's all on Brandon.
Who's the ring bearer?
There's no ring bear.
No, the ring
No.
bearer.
We've got a ring bear.
You do?
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure.
You don't get the reference, do you?
No, I do. It's from How I Met Your Mother.
Okay,
with the
good.
bear that carries the ring.
Thank
I
goodness.
know.
All
I know
right.
I know what's going on here. Are there going to be some gluten-free options at this wedding?
I literally had your entree changed.
I just want to make sure
You'll be
that,
getting
we're on
gluten-free
record
mac and
here, 'cause
cheese.
When I'm sitting there and they bring me some very nice, chicken piccata with lots of flour all over it because they're trying to kill me, I just want to be clear that he promised me a gluten-free meal at his wedding this weekend.
I did.
All right.
Yeah.
I just, when the catering staff.
I wish there was a chicken piccata, though. As we discussed, it's a kosher dairy wedding.
Oh man, so what's the entree's gonna be?
Well, you're gonna get gluten-free mac and cheese. We discussed this already.
Ooh, yeah.
Huh.
Gluten-free mac and cheese. People like to hate on gluten-free mac and cheese. I don't know what they're talking about. It's amazing.
I'm gonna get the regular mac and cheese.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese is good. All right, your thoughts. Enough of us. Sorry, we've got a little. We're talking. I'm super hungry in here because I do this show. I usually don't eat till after the show, and by the end of the show, I am starving. So with that in mind, we'll do some roll call here, and we start with my man Adam. Buck, I think you should start every question to producer Mark as pop quiz hot shot, and end with what do you do? I like that. It's a nice reference to the somewhat forgotten 90s action movie Speed starring Keanu Reeves, which producer Brandon, thumbs up, right? It was good, especially when you saw it in theaters, you know? It's absurd as a movie. It makes no sense. But, like, this guy is setting up the most elaborate bombs ever. Like, why make them so elaborate? Why not just say I got a bomb somewhere, give me money? You know what I mean? Yeah. If the bus goes under 55 miles an hour, it's like, wow, that's quite a thing.
It wouldn't be a very exciting movie without that.
But you know what was on Netflix over the weekend for the first time I'd seen, at least, you know, the Matrix trilogy is now on Netflix. And I watched some of the first one. The first Matrix movie is one of the 10 best action movies of all time, I think. It's fantastic.
It's up there. That whole craze, it took over Hollywood.
Yeah, The Matrix was amazing when it came out. It really was kind of a game changer of a movie. All right. Let's see what we got here. Dear Buck. Hold on a sec. I got to take care of that one later. Karen writes, hey, Buck, just want to tell you that crazy as a bedbug is a saying that was used a long time ago. I grew up hearing it, and it came from bedbugs performing crazy antics on the mattress. Love your show. Listen to podcasts every day and encourage my Parler and Twitter followers to listen. Thank you so much, Karen. And I was told this. My mom actually told me that crazy as a bedbug is a thing. You ever heard that one before? Yeah. I think it's fallen out of common usage. But yeah, crazy as a bedbug is a thing. Chopper. Get to the chopper. Different chopper. Hey, Buck, I'm a new listener, but I found your show virtually unmissable. Want to point out there is a Hanukkah song other than the dreidel song or the Sandler song. It's from the South Park Christmas special. My two producers in here are both of the Jewish faith, and so they can weigh in.
That is not a Hanukkah song. Have you ever heard it?
No.
It is wildly hilarious but offensive. Because it's South Park.
Okay, yeah, I don't know this one.
Kyle is a very lonely person of the Hebrew faith, so he sings about that he's a lonely Jew. That's the name of the song. I'm a lonely Jew.
Okay. Well, they've seen it. I have not. But Chopper, appreciate you listening and thank you for the heads up. Christy, hey Buck, hope you've had a great weekend. Thanks for helping us make sense of the impeachment nonsense so far. I'd like to send you and producers Mark and Brandon a Christmas card. Is there a mailing address for the Freedom Hut? I mean, it should just be the Postal Service should just get its act together and know that all you should have to write on the letter is the Freedom Hut. Boom. And it should show up here. Unfortunately, don't do that because I don't think that will work. Is there a mailing address for the Freedom Hut? No, not yet. Not really. I don't know. I guess we could. Should we get a P.O. box? We should set that up? Isn't that? But then who's going to go to the P.O. box, right?
I mean, they could always send it to where we're located and then attention, the Buck Sexton show.
But is it really going to get here, though? We know that.
I don't know.
Unless it's for, like, the new, like, hot top 40 recording artist. Like, I don't think anyone's going to find us.
Well, we've gotten mail.
We have?
Yeah.
Right, maybe. Maybe we'll do it then. Philip writes, you will never master Fiona Hill's accent. She is from the Coal Belt area of County Durham, whose principal city, Hartlepool, has an accent so unique it is largely unintelligible from anyone not from said city. Her father was a coal miner and a communist sympathizer. Her resume is highly suspicious. I don't know Hartlepool. I've never even heard of Hartlepool. So yeah, her accent was funky stuff, man. It sounds a little bit English, a little bit Irish, a little bit Cornish, maybe, or is that a thing? Or Welsh or something? I don't know. Cindy, you had talked about Chico State in California, which is a university. I live in a small town 2 hours from Chico in the mountains. The walk-away movement is about gay people walking away from the Democratic Party. Brennan Straka started the conversation. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Okay. Walk away is about people from the gay community leaving the Democrat Party, and I guess Blexit is members of the black community who are leaving the Democratic Party. I believe that is the case. But thank you, Cindy. I didn't know that. I'd never heard of walk away. Really, I mean, I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know what it was about. Pause. Sounds amazing. All right, and we're back in our roll call zone. Tyler. Buck, are you seeing what's going on at Mahopac, New York? The police are laying siege to a man for possession of 30-round magazines. Tyler, I did not see that, but it would not surprise me, man. Every time one of these laws passes where they start mandating changes to what is a legally permissible magazine, different rail systems not allowed on guns, there are certain firearms will be banned. Anytime that happens, there are going to be these cases that come up where people are all of a sudden, they're going to make examples of you. They're going to make an example of you if you don't comply, if you don't submit. And I think that that's something that we all need to keep in mind here, that there will be people who are punished, who lose their freedom, who get sent to prison even because of all of this. So there you have it. I will check that out, though. I did not see it. Did you see this in Mahopac? Do you guys know? No? Yeah, I didn't see that one. Sorry. Sometimes it slips past the Buck radar, and that's a thing that I will watch out for in the future. Anthony, but you know what was pretty good over the weekend, by the way? I saw the first episode of The Spy with Sacha Baron Cohen, who played Ali G in Borat. It's good. I would recommend it to you, gentlemen. I'd recommend it to the folks at home, too. I would say
He played Borat in Borat.
Didn't I say that?
You said he played Ali G.
And Borat.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that part.
Get back to making the show
All
work.
right.
Get back to making us actually send the things to across the country. The audio. There we go. That's what I was trying to think of. See, if the captain comes in, if he leaves the controls
and you
of the
speak
ship,
for
and
a
we hit
living.
an iceberg because I'm over here playing the violin, it's on him. Just saying.
Well, don't hit an iceberg.
Well, dude, you're the one steering. I'm just making the noise. I'm just the entertainment. He's the one steering the ship. Anthony, how is it possible for Dems to denounce the Syria pullout as abandoning the Kurds, but when Obama did not support the Ukrainians, there's radio silence? I know the answer. I am just saying. Well, you do know the answer. And the answer is that there are different standards applied to Democrats and Republicans. Trump has been better on Ukraine than his predecessor was, and yet we keep getting told by the media that one of the reasons we must get rid of President Trump is because he abandoned the Ukrainians, but he did not. In fact, he did the opposite of abandoning them, if you look at what has really happened. But they don't want to look at what really happened. They would prefer to continue on with the propaganda from their side that this president must be removed, that he's terrible, that he's evil, that he's the meanest man ever. And it is not true. Let's see what we have here. Rod. Buck, love the show and never miss a podcast. Well, Rod, you have fantastic taste in podcasts. Just a heads up, I listen on iHeartRadio, and the audio of your clips are about twice as loud as when you're speaking. It's really, really annoying. Doesn't happen with any of the other podcasts I listen to the same platform. Your producer is doing something wrong. Shields high. I turn this now to producer Mark.
Find a new podcast to listen to.
What?
Find a new podcast to listen to, sir.
Wow. I disagree with producer Mark. Continue to listen to this podcast.
No, do continue to listen, but, it's not really true.
You saying it doesn't happen? Rod, the customer is always right, and you are the customer. You can send an angry email to producer Mark on the next one. But thank you for listening to the podcast. That's going to be it for us today in the hut, my friends. We are rocking. We are rolling. We are freedom spreading, I guess. I couldn't think of something that rhymed there. Producer Mark has to get ready for getting married this week. And send him some congratulations up front on his nuptials here, folks. He's actually, at least one of the members of the Freedom Hut's going to be married. So that's good. I'm going to be Uncle Buck pretty soon, I think. So that'll be an interesting thing.
No time soon, I promise.
Yeah. See. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Shields high.